rights.
Nobel Peace Prize winner Muhammad Yunus spoke at the National Press Club today, shortly before a White House ceremony where he was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom. He talked about how microfinancing efforts can help fight poverty. This is about an hour.
We'll go ahead and get started. I want to welcome each of you to the National Press Club for this morning's Newsmaker. I'm Mark Schoeff. I'm the chair of the Press Club's Newsmakers Committee and the Washington correspondent for Workforce Management, a business magazine published by Crane Communications. We're pleased today to welcome Professor Muhammad Yunus. He is known as the father of microfinance and won the 2006 Nobel Peace Prize for his efforts to alleviate global poverty through small, low-interest, collateral-free loans directed primarily at indigent women through the Grameen Bank, which he founded in Bangladesh in 1983. Today, Professor Yunus is in town to pick up another prestigious prize. He will receive the Presidential Medal of Freedom this afternoon at the White House. First, though, he is going to talk to us about the growth of Grameen's U.S. organization, Grameen America, which was established in 2008, January of 2008. The battle against poverty is not limited to the developing world, and Grameen America has lent more than $2.1 million in microloans here in the United States to more than 850 borrowers at 91 centers throughout the country. So it's my honor and pleasure to welcome to the podium Professor Yunus.
Thank you very much. Good morning. It's a very special day for me today. There's a big ceremony waiting in the afternoon, so we're getting ready for that. And it's also special because my daughter is here, Monica, and her husband. This is their first official meeting they're attending as a married couple. They just got married on 14th of June. So this is also very special for me. In a way, I'm a very lucky person to be on the list of the president for Presidential Medal of Freedom. Out of 16, this is to occupy one slot. It needs a lot of luck to make it happen. I'm very happy and honored that the president has given me that slot. And also it's very special because he is today probably the most admired person globally. He has inspired the whole world. So to be on his list, I share the admiration that he has created for himself. So that probably some of his admiration will rub off on me too by being on his list. And this is important because all the issues that I have been raising in the past about poverty, about how it can be overcome, how we can almost set a date, then say it's over, finished. Sometimes people think this is not achievable, and I feel very confident and very strong about it, that yes, it is achievable. I even talk about putting poverty in the museum, saying this is over, that's it. And we move on with our life, the real human life, because poverty does not represent real human life. It's a subhuman life. It's almost like animal life. And there's no reason in this day and age we should be carrying on this past legacy of this poverty. So this is one issue that with the recognition that I get being on the list makes it known to many, many people who didn't probably know in depth before. They would like to know what is it that I represent. And then I talk about issues along the way in poverty. I said poverty is not created by poor people. Poverty is created by the system that we built around us. So how to change that system. And this is, the timing was very right for this award for me, because the whole world is going through the financial crisis. And inside, everybody feels the system is not right, but they don't know what would be the right one. And I kind of gave my views of what could be the right one. This is one occasion that we should be paying a lot of attention to how to redesign and retool the system so that we don't follow the same old way of making our life proceed. Rather, we create a different structure so that we don't fall in the same ditch over and over again and make it worse every time. So this is a call that I gave. This is the deepest of the crisis, but it is the greatest of the opportunity. So opportunity part has to be emphasized. This is forgotten most of the time because they're so busy trying to fix things. It's not fixing to get back to the same old thing. It's redesigning the system so that we go to the new beginning rather than going back to the same normalcy that we are used to. So that we shouldn't be going back to the same normalcy again. We create a new normalcy. That's the point that I would like to make. And on the financial side, I talk about how to make the financial world different, making financial service available to every single human being on this planet. And I keep talking about credit be taken as a human right because it's so fundamental. It plays such a fundamental role in human lives that it shouldn't be ignored as left to the business people to decide who should get and who shouldn't get. This is something we come as a framework that we must address it as a human right so that we establish it for all. And this crisis should lead us to that same basic conclusion that instead of having an exclusive financial institutions for very specific people, we should have inclusive financial system so that nobody is excluded from that system. So this is the version that we bring out and we demonstrate through our work, Grameen Bank, that we do in Bangladesh, and that it's replicated all over the world. Today, probably not a single country would be available where you don't have microcredit program running, and it is shown all over the world that it is doable, it works, that it does work in a sustainable way. This key word is a sustainable way. It's not a charity. It can be run in a way that people benefit. At the same time, it recycles the money. It's not charity money that you depend on. So this is one issue that fixing the financial system. Other one is the business world to be fixed. Today, business world is all devoted to making money because there's the only kind of business in the whole world, business of making money, profit maximization as the single mission of the business. I'm saying that is a too narrow interpretation of a human being. Human beings are selfish. This is a basic element in human being. But at the same time, all human beings, every single human being is also selfless. It is also built into the human being. But that part has been completely ignored by the economic theories. And that's where we went wrong. So we built a world where we are all running to make money because that's what the theory says we should be doing. I said, yes, that's a very narrow way of building our own world because we have ignored one basic part of our human being selfless, being able to touch other people's life by our own individual actions. And I'm using this selfless part of human being to build a new kind of business, using that part of human being that I'm calling social business. Business to change the world, business to impact in human beings' life without having any attention of getting any money for myself. It's all for others, nothing for me. Contrary to the existing business where everything is for me, nothing for others kind of policy that we pursue. So we can create those businesses along the way and make the world a better place for all of us. And microfinance could be one of them, but healthcare could be another, and also environment could be another social business, and many, many things, housing, nutrition, and you name it, it could be done in a social business way. Today it becomes important because healthcare is a big issue in the USA again. We're trying to address healthcare in Bangladesh in a social business way. We are creating social businesses within Bangladesh. We have already created eye care hospitals in a social business way so that nobody has to be denied of the service, but at the same time, hospital runs by with their own income. not for making money for the owners of the hospital, because the owners decided nothing should come to them. It should be available to the people, because the aim of the hospital is to make sure nobody suffers from eye problems. So this is a case of a social business. And we are building up many more healthcare programs in Bangladesh in collaboration with many of the universities here, companies here, universities like Emory, universities like UPenn, University of Pennsylvania, university like Johns Hopkins, Harvard University, and also Mayo Clinic, trying to build these pieces together. This is in the basis of the social business. And we are creating a small, in the villages, small health management centers, where our focus is on keeping the healthy people healthy. That's our main focus, so that awareness becomes an important element of this health business, and then how to keep healthy people healthy, and then detect at early stage any deviation from the health. So early detection and early treatment. And since we cannot keep the doctors in the villages, because doctors everywhere want to live in the metropolitan city, which I don't fault them for that, but we have to find a way how to bring the health service. Today, technology is available for us that we can do that because of the availability of internet and availability of a huge platform of mobile phones. Everywhere in the world today, mobile phones is a common thing, and everybody carries in their pocket, in their whatever way they can carry a mobile phone. And mobile phone is also an internet vehicle. It carries the internet facility. So what we are trying to do, build diagnostics tools, so that at the village level, the tools are used, diagnostic tools are used, make it very simple, and the village girls can be trained to use the diagnostic tools and kind of plug it in to the mobile phone, transmit all the images and all the data, all the information from the household to the specialist doctor, from the patient to the specialist doctor, wherever he or she lives, most likely in the city, and then communicate through the mobile phones and give the prescriptions. So this is something that we are in the process of building, again, as a social business. So this is another area, the healthcare area, that we want to build up. And along the way, and the replication began in New York City, Grameen America, that you mentioned. And today in the New York City, in Jackson Heights, in Queens, and also now expanded to Manhattan, we just crossed the 1,000 mark. So we have now over 1,000 borrowers in that program. An amazing thing, then we follow the same Grameen principles, and 5 women getting together, taking individual loans, being responsible individually, and take the loans for income-generating purposes, and create their own employment, make a living for themselves, and they're very proud of their ability to handle that. And the repayment has remained over these years, from January 2008 up till now, near 100%. So this is an amazing thing that happens, and we are invited to do it in Omaha recently. So we opened a branch in Omaha, and I hope to see the same kind of success will be repeated in Omaha also. Other cities are inviting us from San Francisco, Los Angeles, Durham, North Carolina, and so on, in Boston and Baltimore. So we are hoping that maybe we should be starting programs there also. So this is the kind of things that I try to focus with the intention that we can overcome all this problem. Unemployment can be overcome. Today, as the unemployment continues to increase, we could create alternative formats of creation of employment, like self-employment, and also creating wage employment through social businesses. There's opportunity galore for creating social business just to create employment for people. So that aspect has never been addressed before. So I'm trying to bring that to the attention. So I'll stop here as a briefing. Just few more words about Grameen Bank. Today we have nearly 8 million borrowers in Grameen Bank in Bangladesh, and 97% of them are women. We lend out over $100 million a month, and all this money comes from the deposits that collected by each branch of Grameen Bank, and the local money taken as a deposit and lent to the local poor women, and then the branch makes profit. So Grameen Bank is a profit-making company. It's owned by the borrowers themselves. And the dividend goes back to the borrowers as a shareholder. So it's a complete circle. The money given out, paid back with interest. The company, the bank makes profit. Profit is distributed back to the borrowers as their dividend. So that idea can be replicated anywhere in the world. And this is being done in many, many countries. And we are very happy now. We will be launching in a big way in China, in Inner Mongolia and Sichuan. And this would be, again, at the interest of the Chinese government. They have invited us to start the program, and we are very happy that we could start the program this year. Thank you very much.
We'll take questions. I just ask that you please identify yourself and your organization when you ask the question. We just like to know who's joined us. So, who has the first question? Yes.
I'm from Tikana newspaper from New York. What is your reaction about today you are receiving a award from the U.S. government?
As I said, I'm very lucky. It's a very exciting moment for me because this is a big recognition for the ideas that I've been promoting, trying to let people pay attention to it. So this recognition brings a lot of attention to those ideas. So I'm very happy about it. And it's very important for me personally, for being recognized by such an important person in the world, most admired person probably right now in the world, and the person who has inspired a whole generation of young people all over the world. So with his inspiration, with his great capacity to draw admiration and people's attention, to be on his list, I was saying that some of this probably would rub onto my ideas of creating attention and inspiring young people to make that happen in the world so that we can start believing that, yes, we can create a world where not a single human being has to suffer the misery and indignity of being a poor person. So that was very exciting, and also very exciting for Bangladesh, being recognized out of many, many countries in the world, that someone from Bangladesh to be recognized. And this gives a lots of happiness among the people of Bangladesh that, yes, and feel very confident in their future, that, yes, we can contribute to the world and we can make a go in our life to make changes, to make a distinguished nation in the Committee of the Nations. Thank you.
Shades TV Bangladesh. What is your message today for all Bangladeshis in the whole over the world? What is your message today? You're receiving the award.
The message is that yes, what we do in Bangladesh is not just a local thing. It has a global implication, including implication in the United States, which gives Bangladeshis a lot of confidence in their life that, yes, we can do things on the global stage. We are not just a poor nation, as we kind of get used to knowing that we are a poor nation and kind of feel neglected and ignored. We are not a neglected and ignored nation. We are a significant nation. We have the ability not only to make impact in our life within the country, also impact globally. And this is a recognition of that kind of thing. I'm not being recognized for things that everybody else do and I have done better. In a way, it's a very contradictory kind of situation. I stand in a contrast with everything that is done in the USA. In the USA, business solves everything. And if you make money, that's good for the nation. And that's it. And I'm saying, no, that's not it. Making money is not the goal that we all pursue. We are not money-making machines. We are human beings. We have to solve problems. And we can create another kind of business, social business. Social business is a kind of a big contradiction to the money-making business, where money-making business says, everything for me, nothing for others. In social business, we are saying, everything for others, nothing for me. So it's a big kind of a contradiction in the general thinking process within the USA. But at the same time, I'm being recognized by the President of the United States. So that gives a big recognition to being different at the same time being paid attention to. I'm one who has been always saying welfare system is a wrong system. If there is welfare, it should be temporary. Welfare cannot be a permanent solution to people's life. It should be very temporary. The whole aim of welfare should be to help people get out of welfare. While I'm saying that, I'm being recognized by the President of the United States, saying things completely different. So it's not something that it goes along with the United States, so they like you and they give you a prize. I'm saying exactly the opposite. I'm saying that the healthcare system could be done in a social business way. And that's not the welfare, the healthcare system probably U.S. people have in mind. So again, a different kind of system. And the financial system, the USA is the world capital of the banking world. There you are making money, so you keep on making money, and in the process, the super greed takes over and all the crisis happens. I'm saying no, we can build a new kind of financial system. A financial system which can work in just like we do in Jackson Heights, giving people to who are never be able to open even a bank account, forget about taking a loan, just put their money into the bank. No bank will accept that. So we are doing that. So that's something that we do everything in a contradictory way. At the same time, it draws attention because people see sense in what I do and what I say. Thank you.
Let's go with Myron.
Professor Yunus, Myron Belkind, former AP correspondent who helped cover the birth of Bangladesh. In the current severe recession, many of the biggest banks in the world have had their own survival question, including the likes of Citibank. How has Grameen Bank been affected by the recession, or are you recession-proof?
I would say we are recession-proof. It didn't hit us at all, for several reasons. No impact whatsoever. For several reasons, I'll give you quickly the reasons that I see. First of all, Grameen Bank, the banking that we do in Bangladesh, is very close to real economy. When we give a loan of $100 or $200, against that loan, there are some chickens, there are some goats, or there are some cows. So it's a relationship between the money and the cow. So it's tied to the real economy. It's not paper-based economy, where you create a fantasy world of finance. And that's where created the crisis. So we don't belong to the fantasy world. We belong on the ground. We are right on the ground. The bank is grounded very solidly on the ground. So this is one reason. Second reason is we are not exposed to those centers of financial hubs like New York and all those, where you can transmit the crisis that you created to all the people. Since we are not connected to that, we are very much locally based. That's why I was explaining, is the local money, not just Bangladeshi money. Wherever our branch operates, that's the money should come from for the branch, not from Dhaka, not from Chittagong or the big cities. It's a local money in a very pure sense in the village level. So your money should come from your neighborhood, and that money should go to the poor people as a loan. So we are very local. So transmission mechanism didn't work for us, and we're very happy that we did it that way. So that way we have kind of insulated ourselves from the financial crisis, and it works pretty good. Even in the Jackson Heights, nobody's telling us we take weekly repayments. No borrowers ever said, sorry, we are in a financial crisis, I can't pay you back. So even in Jackson Heights, in Queens, they are also crisis-proof because, again, this is a very well-grounded to the real economy. It's their work, their money, they earn income, they pay you back. So this is how it works.
Back in the back, right there.
Yeah, hi, Laureate.
Oh, I'm sorry, in the back row. I'll get to you in a moment.
Okay. I'm Rokia from Voice of America. And Dr. Yunus, congratulations again.
Thank you.
And do you foresee any constructive role of Grameen in war-torn countries like Afghanistan after the election, if there is any democracy, any stability?
Already there are lots of microfinance programs in Afghanistan. BRAC, another Bangladeshi organization, they are a nationwide microfinance organization. So microfinance has a role in all countries. We have done microfinance in another war-torn country, Kosovo. When the guns were firing, just a peace treaty was signed at that time. We sent our staff at the invitation of an Italian organization called Missione Archibeleno. So we went there, we set up. At that time, there was no government in that country. There was no currency. They were using Deutsche Mark at that time. There was no bank. So we started a Grameen program in a vacuum, completely. There are no government, no rules, no financial system, no banks. And it worked beautifully. It still is working in Kosovo. So it's possible. The reason I'm saying it's possible, it can be done in a war situation, because people's life goes on. War goes on, life goes on. So you need to support that life, whatever life there is, so that you can build your economy. And in a war time, it becomes more important because the total national system breaks down. So you build your local economy by yourself. You buy and sell and things, do things among each other. So it will be very important to build up that program.
And now in the very back.
Thank you. Laura Iyama, I'm a freelance reporter for 51% of Women's Radio Program. Can you explain why you have targeted your programs to women, and is that a key factor in your success?
I would say it's a key factor. We started out focusing on women in a 50-50 basis. Men and women should be equal number in our work. And that came as a reaction to the existing financial institutions at that time in Bangladesh. I was very critical of that. I was saying they are anti-women organizations, banks, because not even 1% of all the borrowers happen to be women. So I was making this big noise about it, and they were feeling very uncomfortable with what I was saying. They were trying to defend themselves, put the blame to the women. They don't come to us. And I was showing their rules, how screwed up they are. They are always focusing on men by the rules. If a woman comes, they want their husband to come with them. So I said, you never ask the wife to come along with the husband when husband is applicant. So when I began, after all this controversy, I wanted to make sure I don't make that same mistake. So I wanted to have half the borrowers in Grameen Bank women. It was a tough job because women didn't want to come in. They said, well, we don't know anything about money. At times, they were very frustrating that some of my colleagues even suggested maybe we should move on with men. I said, no. When a woman says that I cannot handle money, I don't know about money, give it to my husband, I said, this is not her voice. It is the voice of the history which created her. So we have to peel off the fear that has been generated and the sense of incompetence, sense of inability to do things for herself. So once you peel that off, the real person will come up. And that's the person we are waiting for. And we waited pretty long. We waited for 6 years to make that happen to 50-50. Then we saw money going to the family through women, brought so much benefit to the family. There's an amazing difference between the same amount of money going to the family through women and then going to the family through men. The impact in the family is way bigger when it goes through the women. So we said, why are we then going to the men if the impact in the family is such a big difference? So we switched our policy. We said, let's focus on women. That's how we did that. And lots of things that happen in Grameen Bank, the positive things, I think because of the decision we made early on. And when people learn from Grameen to replicate it in other countries, they don't go through that process. They immediately concentrate on women. Today, microcredit, microfinance became synonymous with small loans to the poorest women. They don't even talk about any other options because of the impact.
In the back row.
My name is Carrie Douglas, and I'm interested in knowing what inspires you or who inspires you personally to do what you do.
Well, the basic inspiration comes just like any other programs, but the impact that you make on people's life. When I'm depressed or I'm criticized, I'm attacked and so on, and wonder whether I'm doing the right thing, and I go and visit the villages, talk to the women, sit down with them, and you get totally recharged that you're on the right track. No matter what the world says, ignore them. Because one smile of this young woman or a young daughter or a son in the family, what they have done with their efforts, that little money, what important role it played in their life, and you get retooled, recharged, that you can do it. That's the most inspiration you can get. And these days also inspiration comes that when I go around, now that many years have gone by, you see the young generation coming up in those families. After all, it's 33 years now down the road. So you see young girls, young boys who grew up with their family, with their Grameen Bank, her mother's work and so on, now going to school, going to colleges, going to university. And some of them already completed them. Some of them are engineers and doctors. So you see side by side the mother who is totally illiterate and the son who is an engineer. And you see, just like another village kid, you talk to him, he said, I'm an engineer, I just graduated. So suddenly you remember that poverty is not created by the person. Her mother could have been an engineer too, but she never had the opportunity to go to school. She remained an illiterate person. So her work created an opportunity for her son or her daughter to go to school, become a doctor, become an engineer. So there is no inherent deficiency in the person. It's the environment that we created, the system we created what the difference that we made among ourselves. So that's the system that I'm trying to address and at least highlight that we need to change, which creates a different kind of people because system doesn't work for some people and they remain neglected. And then we blame them for being illiterate, for being stupid, for not being able to handle their own life and so on. It's not their fault. So all ingredients are there inside. We never let them open up the gift and make the difference in her life and the life of the world on others. Yeah. Yeah.
This is Labluan sir.
Yeah.
I'm working with America News Agency Anna. I cover all of your events when you come here. I want to know, do you have any message to the Bangladesh present governments for the welfare of the people? And I have another question. If the government appoint you as a special envoy to
I got a job.
welfare of the greater community, because you are working only 8 million poor people, where Bangladesh now 145 million people, out of them 90% are poor. So if the present government appoint you as a special envoy to welfare of the country, then what's your...
Well, any assignment the government would like to give, it will be an honor to carry out that responsibility. I'll be delighted, whatever I can do. And I keep on saying the same thing, doing the same thing. Probably I'll have a bigger platform to work through. So that will be a great opportunity for me too. So there's no reason anybody in the right mind should say no to it. So I'll say yes, and of course, and enthusiastically, I'll do that as long as I can do the things that I always said should be done. And I can do that. Poverty in Bangladesh is not 90%. It's, of course, it's way less. The latest would be about 40%. 40% of the population is under poverty. Poverty is declining very steadily. So, and we are hoping to achieve the Millennium Development Goal by 2015, reducing our poverty by half. So we are on that track also. So that way, Bangladesh has been a very well-recorded country for achievement in poverty reduction. Of course, we can do much better. That's for sure. Lots of things have to change to do better. One, financial crisis kind of hold us back because many of the things that we do in Bangladesh will be affected by the global crisis, like our export sector will be affected. But still, we hope that poverty will be reduced by half by 2015, and we continue to achieve that. And when you say 8 million people out of 150 million people, there's a little correction. It's 8 million borrowers, meaning 8 million families. So if you take 8 million families, 5 in the family, so we are talking about nearly 40 million people out of 150 million people. And when you have 40% population under poverty, so you're not too far away. Grameen Bank is only one actor in microcredit. There are many other players in microcredit, BRAC, ASHA, and many other NGOs. Together, I think we come to about 80% of the poor families. covered for that. And our goal is to make sure we get to the 100% as soon as possible, probably 3-4 years. We should be able to reach out to every single poor person or every single poor families, because we lend money in the families, which is basically women in the family that we lend to. So that's each woman represents a family. One problem that we have in Bangladesh, because there are so many organizations, there are lots of overlaps. In the same family, several organizations have lent money. So if you add all the borrowers, they will not represent all the family. So if you take, say, 25% of them are overlapping, so it still will have 80% of the borrowers, 80% of the poor people within the system of microcredit. So this is the most intensively done microcredit in the whole world. So we should be proud of that we have done something, and it works. Despite all the disasters, despite all the floods, all the cyclones and everything, it works. That's the most important thing. So there are lots of rooms to improve too. There are lots of things that we can do better as we go along. That's what we should be concentrating on, more efficiency, and build up the second generation. And that's another idea. And the one probably you didn't get this piece. I was explaining about the healthcare, how to bring healthcare to those families, because these families are not reached by the healthcare. And healthcare is very important, because most of the time you make money and use this money to pay the quacks and go to the traditional healers for overcoming whatever problem you have. So you're wasting your money, and at the same time brings sufferings to you, because the quacks, whatever they give, traditional healers, whatever they give in exchange of money, this is not a cure. This is getting your disease more worse than it was before. So why can't we bring the healthcare and the state-of-the-art healthcare? And that's what we are paying attention to today, so that we can do that. And we are trying to build up nursing colleges, because Bangladesh is extreme shortage of nurses. There is 3 doctors per nurse in Bangladesh, whereas the world standard would be 4 nurses per doctor. So it's tremendous shortage. I said it's strange that we don't have those doctors, the nurses, because we have plenty of girls. All we have to do have the nursing colleges of world standard, train the nurses so that they can fill this gap and make a living for themselves, make a decent, worthy livelihood for themselves, and change their families. And also globally, there's a big shortage of nurses. And if we can give the world-level education, nursing education for them, they will be available for the whole world. So our young girls with the nursing degrees can work in all over the world. And that will bring difference in their families and their villages and in their own personal life. That village girl who never seen outside her village now works in a very different country and getting used to their health system and providing a very important service for their people. And we should take pride that we can do that. So we are creating those nursing colleges, and we hope that will bring lots of changes in our healthcare system. And we want to use them at the village level to run the village health management centers.
Exercising the prerogative of the chair, I have a question. As the world recovers from the financial crisis, there's talk of reforming the worldwide financial system. If countries can get together and do that, then bankers from Wall Street and bankers from the city in London are going to be highly influential. It seems to me that if I were one of them, on first glance, Grameen would sound like a socialistic organization, especially when you say, we're not about making money. Probably people on Wall Street and in London, the financial sectors would blanch at that. How do you overcome that attitude? I mean, because Grameen, I assume, doesn't have anywhere near the leverage of Goldman Sachs or Citigroup in reforming the world financial system. How do you fight that attitude?
Well, now we'll have the leverage with this medal. They didn't get the medal. So we'll have a bigger voice, definitely. So it cannot be ignored. So that voice is not something that we sweep under the rug, that forget it, this is crazy ideas. So we'll say, look, we have this award. You can't just forget that. So that should be a strong voice in that. And let them do what they have to do. City will be doing their job, and Wall Street will be doing their job, whatever they have been thinking. But I'm saying those who are not City, those who are not Wall Street like us, we should be doing our thing too. We shouldn't be waiting for them to change and change us. We should be working for us. If we believe that the Grameen is a good idea, we should be doing Grameen, whether Citibank does it or Wall Street does it. Who cares? We don't care. As long as this piece works. If they see that when the crisis comes, they are the one, all those big pillars kind of collapse, and this system doesn't collapse. If they don't want to learn from it, it's their problem that they have built some institution which is the slightest deviation suddenly start collapsing. So there's something basic weakness into the system. And this is a system which works globally in every single environment. It keeps working without collateral. Remember that we don't have any collateral. They have all the collateral, all the lawyers, and it still collapses. So we don't have the collateral, we don't have the lawyers. It keeps on running. That's what the interesting part of the Grameen America, right there in New York City, where big banks in front of them collapsing, their business is running. Have no problem, no impact on them. So this lesson they have to learn for their own safety, not for doing favor to anybody. And if this is the right one that I'm talking about, it will emerge. It has to emerge if it is the right thing that we can do. We can build a system where we can address the poor people, change their life, and we can address the unemployment, which nobody can solve. All that we have learned in our textbooks over all these years, government has to give them a check every month. Call it unemployment benefit, call them welfare, call it anything. It's simply giving taxpayers money to take care of yourself. Why? Why can't we do the other things? We can do self-employment through microcredit and thing. We can build a credit system where you have an option. Not every single unemployed people immediately go into it, but some people will. They will build their own employment. And in the process, they will inspire other people that, look, I can handle myself because I'm an experienced person. I'm a skilled person. Why should I be sitting around taking government money and live my life? And nobody feels that it's a dignified way to taking care of yourself. If I have an option, if I can take money, I can build my own business. I don't have to work for a big company like I used to do. Now they sacked me. I'm on my own. I know how to do things. I'll be in my business. And social business. We can create social businesses to create unemployment. A very simple idea. If I can invest and it employs 4 people, and the reason I created this business, not to make money for myself. This is a social business. I created this business to employ 4 people. And it works. It pays for itself. It runs. It is not a burden on me. The business that I've designed, they will pay me back whatever investment I have invested in that. And at the same time, it will keep on running. So what I have done, I have found a solution to unemployment for 4 people. If I create a business for 4 people, as a social business, you created 4, and will be a lot of force out of many, many people who are getting unemployed. And somebody says, oh, I can do 40, why 4? I have a beautiful idea. I can build a business. If I'm not making money, I don't have to worry about it because I have my own business there. So all I want to do is employ 40 people. And these 40 people are employed, and they get a decent job, decent salary. Company runs by itself because you have designed the business in a very good way. And I'm not interested in making money out of this business. So anybody could do that. So that will be a solution to providing unemployment in your neighborhood, in your city, in your county, wherever you are. So this is the idea of social business. It's a very simple idea. It's nothing complicated. Anybody who is willing to do that can do that. So these things have to be brought in. It's not just Citibank will decide or Wall Street will decide. It's unleashing of individual capacity. You said this is a socialistic idea. When you say socialistic idea is about giving the power to the state. State controls the economy, state controls, that's a socialistic. We are talking about an option for individuals. I do, you do, and she does. That's how we do. And that's very much in the spirit of the capitalism, free market, plenty of options for individuals. Today, you have no option. You have only one business. If you want to say socialistic, I'll say that one is a socialistic because you have only one option. Free market is about creating options for people. So you have now two options, two different businesses. One for making money, one for changing the world. So you choose which one you want to do. This is both are equal in terms of business. If I have to work for a company, and if I know in my textbook there are two kinds of business, in the world there are two kinds of business, as a young man, as a young girl, I'll be deciding which kind of business I should be working for. Should I work for a social business or should I work for a profit-making business? It's my decision. And if I get the same salary both ways, probably some of them say, hey, why don't I work for the social business? At least I'll do something for the people rather than just making money for the shareholders. So this I like better. So this I have a choice. Today there's no choice. All you do, get a good degree, get a good job to make big profit for the shareholders. That's no option.
Professor, how do you overcome the cycle or the environment whereby people who are on the dole in London or getting unemployment benefits in America might feel that those unemployment benefits and the dole benefits are large enough that they don't have the incentive to go out and work? Would you cut back on the dole?
Yeah. This came in as a big challenge for us. I was invited to receive an honorary degree in Glasgow Caledonian University. So they had a big celebration, a special convocation for me to receive the degree. And we had this interaction with the students, faculty, and so on. And during the discussion, of course, microcredit, Grameen Bank came in. And they were telling me that Glasgow City has several thousand families who are third generation unemployed. In 3 generations, they never saw employment. I said, how do they live? Said they live because of the dole. They get the check and they take care of themselves. I said, don't you try to get their young people to find jobs, do something decent for themselves? The university authority said, we took a project to do that, help these young people to find jobs, and we found decent jobs for them. They work for 2 weeks, they work for 6 weeks, and they disappear. Because they enjoy being sitting around, they enjoy drinking, they enjoy their life the way they are, because they have never seen the discipline of working, because in their families, it never happened. So I said, can you imagine what you have done through this goal, the dole that you have given? You have created another kind of human being, who are not interested in any work. Says you have permanent damage on the human being. That's what you have created. You should be creating options for people. Let people take options, whether you want to take a dole or you want to take a loan and go for yourself. Some people will take the loan option, say 5%, 10%, let them do it. But it will create a new kind of incentive package. If that loan people are succeeding, dole people say, why am I sitting here? Why can't we do something like this? I can do better than him, better than her. So it will be incentive. Then they asked me, would you come and do Grameen for these people? I said, if you invite us, we'll do that. We'll take the challenge. It's not easy. They will say, we don't like work. I was mentioning about the women. When first we went to the women, they said, oh, no, not me. I don't know how to make money. I have no idea. I'm afraid of money. Give it to my husband. We didn't give up. We continued, and we succeeded. And that's why 97% of our borrowers are women today. I said, we have gone through that experience. They will do the same thing. They will take the money, drink it out, and say, sorry, I can't pay you back. But it will happen. Gradually, some of them will start doing that. If one succeeds, 2 succeeds, it will start the change action. So you have to go through that process, because it's a third generation, it's not easy. You have no example of any kind other than sit around and get drunk or whatever you do with your money. So this is the challenge. It's not a single day solution. You have to start the process to do that. There'll be opposition. Say, no, this is not what we want. It's okay. Those who are interested, I'm not saying everybody has to take a loan. So we know that. It's a human being. After all, human life thrives on challenges. Unless you give challenge to human life becomes vegetable life. It's a useless life. And young people will find that out. Yes, I can do things for myself and for others. And that's what makes this human life most interesting. You have to bring it up. Giving a single kind of solution, okay, you're poor, here's the dole. You're unemployed, here's the dole. That's not a solution. So I kept saying that welfare, the dole, should be a temporary solution, not a permanent solution. The whole, kind of preamble of any welfare law should be, this welfare law is passed to help people to get out of welfare as fast as possible. That's the whole purpose of this law, not keeping you on welfare. That is not done. On the other hand, welfare laws are passed in a way you can't get out of welfare. Make absolutely sure. If you are on welfare, if you earn $1, you have to report it to the welfare authority. And welfare authority will deduct that $1 from your check. I said, what a shame. If I have designed that welfare law, I would do it the other way. I said, you earn $1, you report to the welfare authority, we'll match you with another $1. Encourage you to do that, so that next time you'll be more encouraged, you'll earn $2, so that you can get $2 more. And gradually you get out. That is forgotten. That's why we have so much problem. Drinking, drugs, or whatever, crimes, because you have no responsibility whatsoever. You take away the sense of responsibility from human being. And that's at the end of human being, if I don't feel responsible for myself. Thank you. Yeah.
Dr. Yunus, I am Diego Khan. I am a Bangladeshi American citizen. We are very proud of you as a father of microcredit, and we are very proud that you born in Bangladesh. You changed the country, poverty levels, 30-40%, whatever. I have a question to you. How many years it takes in Bangladesh especially to get out all poverty level throughout the nationwide? I think you have better idea than anybody else. And also, as well as any political party offer you to become head of the state in future, do you accept it?
I got another job here.
Well, he got an offer. He declined that in past.
Thank you. And I'm from Swadesh TV also.
Okay, yeah. One is, I just mentioned that we are on the track to achieve the Millennium Development Goal. Goal number 1, to reduce poverty by half by 2015. So we are there. We are very solidly on that track. And I keep asking in Bangladesh and among the Bangladeshis, I said, now that we are very happy, proud nation that we will achieve this goal. Many nations will not be able to do that, but we will. And we are designated or labeled as the poorest country in the world. And when 150 million people, what do you say it's the poorest country? It's a lot of poor people. And within that country, with a very poor economy and lots of poor people, if you can reduce the number by half by 2015, this is a very strong message for the world that yes, we can do that. We have the capacity. And that is on the way. The question that I ask, isn't it a good time for us to set a date, next date, after 2015, on what day we'll have zero poverty? If we can do it, reduce it by half, by same logic, you can reduce to zero. You just continue the path. But how long will the path be? Will it be another 10 years, 15 years, 20 years? I said, let's set the date and work for it from now on, so that we also achieve that goal. And I suggest, before anybody comes up with a date, I said, why don't we make it 2030 as the date when nobody in Bangladesh will be a poor person? You can go around, you won't find any poor person. And this is, again, a big message for the world. Because USA may be the richest country in the world, but they have poor people. We may be starting from the poorest country in the world, but today, 2030, we have no poor people. And this will be a thing that we can stand very tall, that we have done that. This is that indignity we don't want to have in our people. And it's achievable. It's not, again, a pipe dream or something. People used to think when, in 2000, when the UN General Assembly passed that goal, that all those Millennium Development Goals, with the number 1 goal to reduce poverty by half, everybody says, oh, it will never happen. It's just like any other UN goal, which never happens, and you move on to another goal. I said, no, if you take it seriously, it will happen. And it will happen for many countries, including Bangladesh. So this is it. So we can do that. But you have to keep in mind in your policies and things so that we achieve that. You just put the goal and merrily do the same thing all over again, what you have been doing, then it will happen, but much later. The question is how fast we can do it, as soon as possible, physically possible. So it's a question of putting the date and work for it. That's the important thing. But it's achievable.
Do you have any message for the government to act on behalf of that policy?
Well, this is what we have been talking, what I just said, what I've been promoting, that we have to need this, change the structure of the economy, because the system is responsible for creating poverty. I was giving an example, it's not the poor person. That illiterate person, the fact that he or she is illiterate is not her problem. We condemned her to illiteracy, those of us who run the country, because we created that environment for her. We never reached out to her. She is sick, she is malnourished, her daughter is malnourished, her son is malnourished. It's not her. This is not she created. We created that. We could have reduced that, we could have improved that, we could change that, but we never did that. We have beautiful programs, donor-funded, government-funded, and so on, but the system doesn't work very poorly. If it works, we can improve that. Those are the things which make expedite. So that when I say poverty-free world, at the same time, it's a disease-free too, because you cannot have poverty and the disease are linked together. So poverty causes ill health. So if you improve the quality of life as not being poor, their children will not be sick. They will be having good diet and decent diet, not fancy diet, but decent diet, so that they can keep their health. Children grow up not malnourished, full health, and they will have a better life for themselves. And there are many, many diseases in Bangladesh and so on and other countries, which doesn't need big doctors, big things, very simple actions. Like a worm in your stomach, you don't need doctors to fix up the stomach. And it spreads very easily all over the country. So how to fix that? How to fix very common diseases like skin diseases. For example, we have a problem of thalassemia in Bangladesh. 15% of Bangladeshi people are carrier of thalassemia. If a child becomes a thalassemia patient, very short life, cannot survive because of the blood problem, blood transfusion and so on. But again, we are one of the most densely thalassemia carriers in the whole world. We don't even tell our young boys and girls who are getting married that check whether your partner that you are marrying is a carrier of thalassemia. If both husband and wife are carriers, most likely the child will be thalassemia patient right away. We never test our blood before we get married. So we expand that possibility now, next generation. There'll be more carriers than before because we passed on to our children. They become sick, the carriers produce carriers. It's a simple thing, just a simple blood test before you get married. So those are the things, don't need doctors to cure things. So those are the attempts, initiatives that somebody has to take. And we have to take as citizens.
One last quick question. You talked in a talk show yesterday, and NTV, I saw that, and you mentioned about China, like they have shortage of people, and your goal was 2030, not 15, but now you're mentioning 15. So is it 2030 to make it zero poverty? Or put a date, anybody put a date, is just, that was a nice talk show. And do Chinese government or China, they have program like Grameen Bank? How they become
Yes, we're invited. Actually, this month we'll be signing the agreement with Chinese government to start Grameen China. And our first work would be in 2 provinces. One is Sichuan, and another is Inner Mongolia. And that's where it will begin. And then we'll expand it to other provinces. They are very, very interested. The reason I mentioned that we have to get ready to send people to China to work, because China has a huge population, but they have a one-child policy. Yeah, that's what this is the problem. Now they are having a shortage of labor. The wage level is going up. They cannot retain the businesses. Now with their very quick expansion, they build a big economy which cannot be sustained by one-child policy, because you cannot replace the labor that people are retiring. So I said, in order to sustain their growth and sustain their economy, they will be needing labor very soon. And we are the one suppliers of labor. We have plenty of people to work, very able people. We train our staff so that they can do the work. And we need to have big airports and our big airlines to carry those people. Because when China needs people, they will need lots and lots of people. So I said, get ready to start learning Chinese.
Thank you so much and congratulations.
Thank you so much. We love you. We love you.
Thank you.
We love you.
Well, we've reached the 1 hour mark, which is the normal time for a newsmaker. So I want to thank each of you again for spending part of your morning with us here at the National Press Club, and I want to thank Professor Yunus as well. It was a pleasure to have you here, and have fun at the White House this afternoon.
Well, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Oh, right, and there are new press releases on the sign-in table out front if you want to take those with you as you leave. Thank you all.
Thank you. Well,